Welcome to the Pat White Show. Let's get into it.
This is Sparta!
As I sit here in my office, the time is around 10 p.m. in the evening. It's a Thursday night, and I'm sitting here talking only because I am stunned by the information that I received of the passing of Mayor Tom Henry. As I said before, I've mentioned this, I've known Tom for, 40, 45 years, maybe longer than that. I've known him since, since I was working as a salesman in radio. I've known him from the time I was working on WoWo Radio when he was on city council. And I used to say, hey, you want to come in and talk about an issue? Come on in. And he always came in and talked to me. We always talked cordially because we were, for lack of a better term, friends. I mean, not drinking buddy friends, but we were friends. We respected each other. Tom had served in the United States military in the 70s, and so had I, frankly, a lot longer than he had. But brothers in arms, both had a job to do. Tom came from what I call the old Kennedy family era. That's basically the way he thought. That was kind of his style. And me, I used to be a Kennedy fan myself until, I kind of grew up and realized some other things are going on that aren't too good, that need to be worked on and changed. So I became, a conservative. Card-carrying conservative? Maybe. But I've elected Democrats in my job. So I work both sides of the house, just who I think is best. But in Tom's case, I thought he was the best for what he was doing. You know what? He ran for mayor 5 times, elected. And I'll be honest with you, I thought it was a good election. I thought he deserved to be elected because I thought he was a capable mayor. He proved that to me in more than one way, shape, and form. Last year, I had to contact him about a special event I was involved with an organization that I was the president of. I asked for his help, and he gave it to me. When I went to see him, I walked into his spacious office area, and he met me. He walked in his direction, I walked from my direction. We met in the middle and shook hands. It was a great handshake. He said, man, that's good to see you again, and he meant it. So, he has passed. Carl Bandemir, who I've known for a long time, is a deputy mayor. Now, the Democrats here in the city of Fort Wayne are going to have to get together and have a caucus and decide who they want to be the next mayor because they are in charge right now. They're going to have their own election, decide who the person they want to run the city. I don't know who they're going to choose, but I can't tell you this. I believe the city of Fort Wayne, both left and right, are going to mourn the passing of Tom Henry. He, in my opinion, was one of the better mayors I've seen this city has had, regardless of the party. He was a good man, good person, and also I called him a friend. Coming up next. Well, it looks like we have a couple of big-time winners when it comes to the lottery here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Now, we haven't had any lottery winners, at least that I know of, in a while. But it turns out last couple of days we've had not one but 2. Now, not necessarily big money winners, but, one is for $1 million, if you consider that big. And frankly, in my world, I consider that very big. Somebody bought the Mega Millions ticket on North Anthony, and I think that was at the Handy Dandy. I'm guessing. I think that's the Handy Dandy. That's on North Anthony, and so basically that's where I'm hearing there. But also, somebody won themselves $100,000, $100K, by purchasing a ticket at the Walmart over at Apple Glen. Now, that was in the Hoosier Lottery Powerball drawing. So, 2 winners. One person who wins $100,000, and another person who wins $1 million. Now, what I'd recommend you do, 1, make sure you sign your ticket. 2, you take your ticket to the lottery office. But before you do any of that, this is just a recommendation on my part, before you do any of that, you consult your attorney and your financial advisor. Because I guarantee you, especially winning $1 million, you're going to find out you have relatives you didn't even know existed. You're going to find relatives you never knew existed because they probably didn't. Everybody's going to want some of that money. That's the way it is in the lottery. 100,000, yeah, you're going to see that too. So whoever won that over at the Apple Glen Walmart, there you go, 100K. Keep in mind, you're going to pay about 25% taxes on it, which is going to leave you with about $75,000, which still buy you a nice bass boat. Okay, just saying. Now, $1 million, you're going to get around $750,000 off of that. And that's a substantial amount of money that can build you probably a nice house in Sycamore Hills if you want. Suppose you could do that. $750,000. That'd be a medium-sized house, nothing fancy. But consult with your financial people first. You want to hide that money or put it into some way or you're not going to spend it? Take care of yourself. I strongly recommend that. Anytime you win big money, sign your ticket and talk to your financial people. Because, trust me, there's going to be people coming after you for what they think they deserve from your money. It happens everywhere and every time. So, congrats to the two people who won, but be careful what you do, because now you're about to become a target, and you don't want to be a target. That's all I got. See ya. Coming up next, I'd like to tell you about a little incident that happened involving my family, and normally I wouldn't talk about these things, especially anything went out in the world to see, but something happened tonight that caught my attention, and I want to talk about it. We were celebrating my youngest daughter's birthday today, and we invited up our other daughter and her guy from Indianapolis to come up and see us, and then we had the two grandkids, so it was a party of 8 people. They had the granddaughters, both daughters, and their men, and so we went to a place called the Takaoka Restaurant, which is a Japanese restaurant in one of the Hall's restaurants. The Hall's chain is a big chain here in Indiana, at least in Fort Wayne. And went up there because it's a special thing. It's the typical Japanese style of the flat plates, so they cook all the food and toss it around, and it's a big show. But when you go in there, you tell them whose birthday it is, and they have a little celebration for them that they plan at the end of the meal. So we were sitting there waiting because it's a big crowd to get in there, and everybody's waiting to get in. And we were all standing around, and I had a young man walk up to me and handed me this. And I don't know if you can really see it or not, but there it is. Thank you for your service. It's a coin. Never had that happen to me before. I'm one of those people that served at a time in the 70s. People coming back from Vietnam, people did not say thank you for your service. Trust me. There were those who actually spit on you. And I remember back then I had my hair a little bit longer than probably 3510 allowed, but I didn't want to let people know that I was in the military. Tried to disguise myself. It didn't work. But it's because people just didn't like military people. And I found it rather interesting that this young man comes up to me and hands me this. Well, anyway, when he did, I looked over at where his party was, his family, and there was his father over there, and he had a Vietnam service hat on. I stood up, and I popped him a salute. And he looked at me and sort of a little salute back, gave him a thumbs up. And, ultimately, a little bit while later, some tables opened up to sit. And I motioned over and said, hey, come on, sit over here. There's a place to sit. You don't have to stand. He came over and we shook hands and everything else. But this is something I remember. This is something I'm going to hold on to. Thank you for your service. Now, I get a lot of people say thank you for your service. You don't really know what to say. I mean, what are you going to say? Yeah, I'm happy to do it because you didn't. You know, it doesn't work that way. But that's what happened today. I'm only telling you that because I think today is the anniversary of the Vietnam people who served in Vietnam. That's our day today. At least I think it was today or yesterday or whatever. And yeah, so I don't think that much about it. It's just a job I did, and I'm happy to do it. I do it again. But I'll never forget this. This is something that is different, unique, and I appreciate it. If it happens to you, you'll understand. Because today, it happened to me. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. See ya. Coming up next. Well, there's only two certain things in life, and those are death and taxes. And if you're reading this or hearing this, you aren't dead, but you are paying taxes, especially if you drive a car. Well, it turns out the amount of sales tax you are paying on your gasoline will go up in the month of April. Currently, in the month of March, it was roughly about 16 cents a gallon, and it's going up to approximately 18 cents a gallon in the month of April. So there you go. The price of your gasoline is going to average out, they say, according to the state, somewhere around $2.70 a gallon. Frankly, I don't know about you, but I ain't paying that anywhere. I'm paying close to $3.40 a gallon, but the sales tax you pay on the gasoline is based upon a set price the state figures out. They're using $2.70. So they multiply that by 7%, and that's the amount of tax you pay on a gallon of gasoline. Goes up and goes down. Right now it's going up, and it's going up to 18.9 cents per gallon in April. So there you go, folks. You got to worry about the cost of food, the cost of taxes, cost of your mortgage rates, your interest rates. And now the price of your gasoline in the state of Indiana will be going up another 2 cents a gallon starting in April. You can't win, can you? Well, nobody can. The problem is the economy is not going up for all of us. It's going backwards. Never a good thing. I'm not sure how we're going to get out of it. But now you know in Indiana, your price of sales tax on your gasoline is going up 2 cents. So get ready for the price to jump up at your neighborhood gas station. Now you know what's going on. Go forth and pump gas, I guess. See ya. Coming up next. Have you ever heard the term monkey see, monkey do? Well, it's an old saying that implies the act of imitation, usually with limited knowledge or concern for the consequences. Monkey see, monkey do. The problem here is that in the United States, Americans are spending beyond their means. And I mean big time, racking up more than $1 trillion in credit card debt. You heard me right. $1 trillion in credit card debt. That averages out to about $5,700 per credit card holder. Now, the problem is this. Our government can print money like no tomorrow. They can print as much as they want. All it does is make the money you have in your pocket worth even less because it dilutes it. But you can't do that. And for Americans, we've got to be careful what we do with our spending. A 2023 survey by a company called payroll.org said that 78% of Americans are now living paycheck to paycheck. Now, that's up about 10% from a year ago. It's getting worse. Auto loan delinquencies have hit a 13-year high in 2024, and that's the highest rate since back in 2010. Remember, we had a little meltdown back around that time, too. Student loan debt is $1.74 trillion in 2024. And for year to year, hardship withdrawals from 401ks is up 36%. That's where we are, folks. That is where we are. So, if you go to a pawn shop, now, I don't ever remember going into a pawn shop, but if you go to a pawn shop, they'll tell you a whole lot about what the economy is going on. Because here's the problem. Most Americans don't even have $1,000 in a bank account, and about 20% of Americans don't even have a bank account in today's world. But if you look at a pawn shop, that's where people go to turn something in to get a loan. That's what they do. Here I got this belt buckle, I got this whatever it is, turn it in to see what they can get for it for a loan. The problem is that loans usually last anywhere from say 30 to 90 days, but customers aren't coming back to reclaim the loan, to pay back the money that was loaned to them to get the product they turned in back. They're not doing it. So here's the problem. You've heard the term about, well, the economy is booming. Well, there is the economy, and then there's your economy. And how is your economy doing? Turns out, for most people, it's not doing too well. Cost of everything, and I'm virtually everything, your food, your lodging, heck, your taxes, your gas, you name it, it's all gone up. But pawn shops now are overloaded with merchandise. People are bringing in stuff, not coming back to pay it off. Their amount of stuff they have in their stores is up over 10% from last year, and it's still continuing to climb. That means more people are pawning stuff off just to get money to cover the cost of living. Like I said, there's the economy and there's their economy. Their meaning yours. So, well, that's difficult to say because a lot of things control the economy. What happens outside of your control controls it. And frankly, it's how an administration chooses to run the economy of a country. For many, that's a concern. It'll be a bigger concern come in November when people decide who they want to run their administration and hopefully get them out of the morass that we have climbed or we have dug ourselves into. Something to think about. If you want to learn something, stop by a pawn shop. Take a look and see what they have and ask the people behind the counter. Is your inventory up or is it going down? They'll probably tell you it's gone up, way up. Something to think about. Thanks for listening. See you soon. Coming up next. Well, I guess I'm going to do a bit of a rant here. So everything I'm going to say from this point forward is an editorial. That's my opinion and my opinion only. So take it for what it's worth. If you don't like it, fine, I understand. But this is just the way I see things. Recently, there was a television article or, a news on the news shows about a lady by the name of Rachel Blakeman. And she's a Community Research Institute over at Purdue University, Fort Wayne. Now, I don't know who she is, and she doesn't know who I am, but she came up with a concept about how much money one has to make to be, quote, comfortable. And that gets me I'm inflamed about two different things, really. One is define comfortable. That's one thing that bothers me. And the second thing is when you hear government people talking about paying your fair share. Those two things stick in my craw. Now, let's get back to Miss Blakeman. She says for an individual in Fort Wayne, Indiana, to live comfortably, as a single person, you must earn $80,000 a year. Now, looking at that, she's using what is known as the 50-30-20 breakdown. Apparently 50 for housing and gasoline and 30 for some of the other stuff. And, 20, it breaks it down, $80,000. Well, when I looked at the housing thing, you figure 50%. That's somewhere along the range of $40,000. I'm thinking $40,000 in a year? Lady, I don't know who you are, but I never earned anywhere near that amount of money. And to tell you the truth, I live pretty doggone comfortably in my world. I don't know what comfortable to you is, but apparently it must be living in a country club. That's my opinion. As I said, I'm editorializing here. So $80,000 a year for a single person to live. And she says, people don't earn that. Normally here in Fort Wayne, the earnings about 50, 60,000, somewhere in there. And she said, that's because wages are too low here. So what do you want to have, $20 an hour for someone working at the Burger King? Someone should be earning $40 an hour in their job? I'm sorry, madam. $40 an hour means you are producing a whole lot of stuff and you are really doing really, really well. Ma'am, I worked in the advertising and marketing business for virtually my entire career. You don't earn $40 an hour doing that, but you can live pretty comfortably if you know what you're doing. Now, that's for just one individual, me. Married. If you're a married person, you're supposed to earn $200,000 a year. $200,000 a year for a family of 4. Hey, ma'am, never did that one either. But I'll tell you what, I've been married and I've got 2 kids, so I'm officially a family of 4. And did we start out living large? No. When we got married, we lived in Canterbury like a lot of people did. Bought our first house, cost me $55,000. That's what I bought for a first house. I wasn't earning $200,000 a year. We were living comfortably, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 2-car garage, not too bad. Ultimately moved up and got a better house and got a better house and got a better house. I wasn't spending $100,000 a year on a house payment and gasoline. Why? I'm living doggone comfortably in a very nice house. Raised my 2 daughters, sent them to college. They had cars. I wasn't earning, or we as a family weren't earning $200,000 a year. I don't know where you come up with that number, but I can tell you this. People in Fort Wayne don't need to earn $40 an hour. You can earn a lot less and live a lot very comfortably. Unless you think everybody in Fort Wayne should be living in Sycamore Hills, and I don't think they do. Now, that's your opinion, that's your studies, that's your estimation on things, and I don't fault you for that. But that really sticks in my craw, living comfortably. I'm living comfortably, and I sure as heck don't earn that kind of money. And my family would say they're living pretty comfortably too. Because I sent them to nice schools, I sent them to college, and they're doing quite well. Thank you very much. And in my retirement, I'm doing quite well too. Thank you. Now, second thing that gets in my craw, fair share. This is government speak. Well, he needs to pay his fair share. Excuse me. Who is the arbiter of what fair is? Is there somebody out there who's the fairness doctor? The fairness arbitrator? Define to me exactly the definition of what is fair. Really? I understand the concept. Fair play means everybody plays the same way. Everybody's nice to each other. But fair share? Exactly who determines fair? So, in that case, I don't buy it. Yes, government sticks whatever they can on you and takes as much money as they possibly can because that's government. But when someone starts spouting the term to me, well, they've got to pay their fair share, bull crap. Because you can't define fair share to me because fair share in your estimation may not be fair share in mine or somebody else's. Determine and define the word fair. Till you can do that to my satisfaction, don't be spouting that term to me. So, lady over there at Purdue, hey, God bless you for your study. I ain't buying it. I think most people aren't either. And as far as the government goes, till you can define fair share to me, quit saying it because I'm tired of hearing it. Now, sorry for my rant. I apologize for that, but some things just get stuck in my craw, and I've got to say something about it. You may not like it, but that's how I feel. And I figure a whole lot of people feel the same way. Coming up next. Well, folks like to travel in America, and now the airline's got a different way of putting passengers on airplanes. You go to an airport, you have all your stuff in your phone. You scan all this stuff and get the airline to give you all the information. And, oh, there it is, your ticket, your boarding pass, and everything is on your cell phone. Well, here's a warning now for any of you who are using your cell phone with all the data and all the information about your airline ticket on your phone, because now apparently people know how to steal it from you. Well, here's a story out of Salt Lake City. A 26-year-old gentleman by the name of Wycliffe Fearzald, and that may be mispronouncing his name, Wycliffe. We're going to call him Wycliffe. Was in Salt Lake City, apparently was snowboarding. 26-year-old man wanted to get back to Texas and apparently couldn't get booked on Southwest Airlines, so he's saying, I got to figure me a way to get back to Texas. So what he did was he went into the airport. How he got past TSA and getting into the sterile area of the airport still remains a mystery to me because I thought you had to have your ID, you had to have your ticket, all the information you've got to give to the TSA people. How he bamboozled his way past the TSA guards still remains a mystery to me. But anyway, the guy gets in the gate area and he starts looking at people's phones because everybody's looking at their phone and checking everything on their ticket and everything. He takes his phone out and he starts photographing people looking at their phones. So he's sort of looking over their shoulder going, okay, here I got it. I got that picture. He took multiple pictures of people's phones because people are basically not thinking that someone could be photographing their phone. Well, they are. And they did. Wycliffe was photographing people's phones, not one person, multiple people, looking for the right one. Apparently, one of them was someone under the age of 18. Don't know if that's going to create anything, but just telling you what's going on. Well, then eventually he gets a phone number, or he gets a ticket number he likes because it's got a QR code on it. He said, this will work. And he goes up to the passenger, the entrance point, where they take your phone, they scan it, beep, boop, beep, boop. You get it, and they pass him through the gateway, and he heads up to the plane. Now, you get on the plane, and you realize that person who's he photographed their ticket of, they got their seat. He ain't got no seat. So what does he do? Sneaks into one of the bathrooms. Yep, that's what he did. Sneaks into one of the bathrooms, figuring nobody's going to notice. Plane will take off. I'm in the John. Hey, I'll be here and just to get out, wander around the airplane. When I'm done, I'll go back in the bathroom. And for my trip from Salt Lake City down to Texas, doesn't take too long, right? Not a long trip. Wycliffe can handle this. Flight attendant said, hey, I don't look right. Something ain't looking right here. And contacted the gentleman and says, let me see your ticket, see? And she looks at it and says, the seat. She goes over, there's somebody in the seat. So she contacts the person who's in the seat, checks the ticket. That's that person, that's that seat. Well, how do you have their ticket on your phone? At that point, Wycliffe was busted and was obviously taken into custody for impersonating someone, stealing it off a phone. But here's the lesson to be learned. If you're going to be using your telephone for the information, do not flash it around in public. Do not have it out there because somebody could be looking over your shoulder and copying it and then using it in your stead. This time, Wycliffe got caught. But maybe the next time it's not going to happen that way. Just saying, caution, security, and let's still find out how the guy got through TSA. That's the part I'm still confused about. Because I don't think he had a ticket at that time. He waited till he got into the sterile area where the passengers are waiting to board. That one has me confused. But aside from that, what a wonderful story to make your day. And that's all I've got for now. See ya. Coming up next. Well, as you're talking about the boat accident that brought down the bridge and on the East Coast in Maryland, here's the story. You probably heard the president has said he's going to commit something like $60 billion of taxpayer money to rebuild the bridge. Now, most of you are going to say, oh, wait a minute. The president didn't knock the bridge down. That ship did. And whoever owns the ship is responsible for what happened. Well, here's the deal. Turns out that this owner of the ship is going to use a law that was enacted back in 1851 that has to do with boats and accidents and things that happen. It's the same law that was utilized on the Titanic. Remember the Titanic sank, 1912? Well, that law that says you're only limited on certain things if you're involved in an accident, which saved the Titanic a boatload of money. And apparently this same law that's still in effect can be used by the owner of this company. I think they're Singapore-based. They would say it's only involving the boat the people that were killed, people knocked off the bridge and drowned and killed. It's not really going to cover those things because the owner of this boat could be in line for billions of dollars of lawsuits. But if he or they, the company in Singapore, decides to invoke this 1851 law that the Titanic used, it will severely limit the amount of damages they have to pay. Now, I don't know if they're going to do it or not, but it struck me when the president said he's going to donate or he's going to put $60 billion into building this bridge. I said, wait a minute, what does he know that I don't know? Turns out there's a law. Titanic used it in 1912, 1851. Limits responsibility of boats involved in accidents. Just saying that's what's going on. But should the United States be paying $60 billion worth of our taxpayer money to rebuild this bridge when we weren't the ones who knocked it down? Just saying. Oh, and by the way, there's no railroad track on this bridge. Contrary to what the president said about riding the train on the bridge, not quite accurate. But $60 billion of your money going to rebuild a bridge that you had nothing to do with and you didn't bring down, but the person or the product or the boat that did might be protected by a law from 1851. Just saying. Now you know the skinny that maybe you didn't know before. That's all I got for you. See ya. Coming up next. Here's kind of an interesting story that I want you to take a look at. It comes from our friends over at Fox News, and it deals with a funeral of a police officer by the name of Jonathan Diller. He was gunned down in New York City in broad daylight, trying to get an assailant out of a car who shot him and killed him. And that assailant has now been charged with murder. But here's an NYPD officer shot in cold blood right in Manhattan, trying to get a bad guy out of a car. Well, at his funeral, the governor of New York, Kathy Hochul, I think her name is, decided she was going to show up. And when she showed up, she was met by a number of individuals of the NYPD Sergeants Benevolent Association who told her in no uncertain terms, "Hey, sweetie, get the hell out of here." Here they are talking to her and having little words with her and saying, "Excuse me, madam, but you weren't invited here. We don't want you here. So get the heck out of Dodge." And ultimately, she had decided that, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to get out of here because they told her, and the family also told her, "We want nothing to do with you." So here's the funeral people coming in, but there the governor shows up. Yeah, boy, they're in their nice little black sedan situation. And here's the people talking to her, the Benevolent Sergeants Association, saying, "Hey, lady, look, you were told not to be here. We don't want you here. The family doesn't want you here. So tell you what, get out. Leave now." Guess what? She and her escorts decided to abruptly leave after about 10 minutes and said, "Thank you very much. See ya. Goodbye. We want nothing more to do with you." Now, that's what happened at a funeral for a police officer gunned down in Manhattan in the middle of the city. Governor wants to show up, exercise her power, and get her photo op. Didn't work too well for her because she was told to get the hell out of Dodge in no uncertain terms. So there you go. She leaves the funeral off because she was told to get out. Well, maybe somewhere along the line, people are starting to get the head on their shoulders and saying, "We're tired of this stuff. We're tired of this entire situation." And saying, "Let's go back to being real people and being real. We can only hope and see what happens down the road." That's all I got for you. See ya. Coming up next, let me give you an example of one state that has enough power that it can dictate what happens in the rest of the United States. I know that sounds far-fetched, but one state actually can do that. And no, it's not Washington, D.C., because it's not a state. But there is one state that is capable of making the rest of the nation comply with what they want, not necessarily what you want. That one state is California. And let me give an example of what's going on. In California, they created something called the Advanced Clean Cars 2. It's a law in California, which started in the Golden State, and it was started with the Air Resources Board in California. I have no idea who that is or what they are, but that's where it came from. The regulations in California require that beginning in 2026, they are banning the sales of gas-powered vehicles and requiring, starting in 2026, requiring people to buy electric vehicles. Now, it's gradual. It's in percentages. Okay, now we want 30%, the next year's 40%, 50%, and what have you. And they're going to do that through the year 2035. By 2035, everyone in California who wants a car must, you heard me right, must buy an electric vehicle. Monkey see, monkey do. Because now 8 other states have decided to go along with what California says. Those states are Washington, Oregon, New York, New Jersey, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Delaware, and Maryland. They are taking their cue from Gavin Newsom in California and saying, hey, everybody, we don't care if you like it or not. You buy a new car, you're going to have to buy an EV. You can't buy a gas-powered vehicle. Nope. We're telling you, you want a car, it better be an EV. 9 states, and all started with one state, California. One state has a tremendous amount of power. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you how powerful it is. Proposition 12 in California affected the pork industry nationwide. Because you see, they set some rules in for pork producers around the United States. So if you want to sell your pork in California, it has to meet these standards. This is how things have to be in the pork marketing and the pork. You're a pork farmer, and you're saying, "Wait a minute, California is one state. We got 50 states they serve." Well, guess what? The pork farmers found out: 13% of the pork produced in the United States is sold in California. The pork producers of the United States are having to roll over and do exactly what California told them to do and do it nationwide, which has resulted in the cost of pork going up roughly, I guess thus far it's about 20%, 22%, depends on what you're looking at. One state can control exactly what happens in the United States because that one state is so big and has so many people. Whether it's electric vehicles or pork products, California determines what America does. And their governor wants to be the president of the United States. Chew on that for a little bit and see what you think. That's all I got for you now. Be safe out there. See ya. Coming up next. Well, it looks like we are now in election season because everybody's holding fundraisers to get more money to be able to politic even more. And Joe Biden is no different than anybody else, except he threw a regalia in New York City that is like nothing most folks have ever seen. He wanted to raise money for his campaign, so he called in the big guns. He called in Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, 2 presidents before him who were probably more liked than he is, but he called them in for his fundraising event. Jeffrey Katzenberg of DreamWorks, formerly of Disney exec, he produced the entire thing. A young lady by the name of, let's see what her name here is, Mindy Kaling. She's from The Office. She was the host of the event. And they had a whole bunch of big line people like Queen Latifah, Lizzo, who I have no idea who that is, a British songstress by the name of Cynthia Erivo, But here's the deal. If you wanted to attend, tickets range in price from $250 to $500,000. That's right. Ticket price to get into Joe's event, $250 to $500,000. Now, if you want your picture with the President Clinton and President Obama and President Biden, it's just a mere $100,000. That's all it costs. Get a picture, hang it on your wall. You want to attend a very elite special party, special cocktail party, if you will. The admittance cost is only $500,000. They raised $25 million. But the concern is, if he didn't have Obama and Clinton there, would he have raised any money at all? There's a thought. That's what people are asking the question. And at the same time, Donald Trump was in New York City, not to raise money. He was there for a funeral and a wake of a New York City police officer who was gunned down by an illegal alien. So there's the story. You had one president raising $25 million and another president attending a funeral and a wake for a fallen police officer. Makes you wonder who cares more. Just saying. There's the story. Something to think about. That's all I got for now. See ya. Coming up next. Well, here's an update on a story I reported on a few weeks back involving a former CBS investigative reporter by the name of Catherine Herridge. Catherine was among 20 people that were fired by CBS, and I don't know who the other 19 were, but she was an investigative report. And what made the whole story a little weird is that when she was fired, they kept all of her information, all of her files, all of her sources, all the things that she uses because she's an investigative reporter that looks for things to dig things up on people and stuff. Well, she got fired. And I got to wondering, what's going to happen to her? Well, you see the picture of her right there, and I can tell you what happened to her. She's now been hired by X. X is the old Twitter. Now, Elon Musk has said he wants to put together reporters who can tell the story unfettered, not being bothered by somebody, not having corporate people looking over their shoulder and telling them what to do and what to report and what not to report. So she met with the executive of X, offered her a position, and you know what? She took it. So now Elon Musk is going to get other journalists and let them come out and say, hey, here's what's going on. They're going to give her free rein to report, and she might dig up some stuff, might know some stuff, and might reveal some stuff that, frankly, a lot of folks are going to go, whoa, that's really big. Well, that's what's about to happen. So now you know what happened to Catherine Herridge. She is now working for X, the old Twitter, doing her reporting the way she used to, unfettered and uncontrolled. Is that a good thing? Well, the way the media's thing's been going, it probably is a very good thing. Because I was taught in journalism, when I went to journalism school, who, what, where, when, why, and how. No time was I taught in journalism school anything that had to do with opinion. Let's see what she does with it. That's what I know. That's the latest. Let's see what she does. Coming up next. Well, I have a whole new term of lexicon in the English language that maybe you need to know about, because now, according to the Anti-Defamation League, better known as the ADL, the term 100% is racist. It's white supremacist. Take a look at this right here. This is from the ADL, and here's what it says right there. 100%. Shorthand for 100% white. 100% is a term used by white supremacists. Yep, I'm not kidding you. That's exactly what they're talking about. 100% is a shorthand among white supremacists for 100% white, though it is common for them to write out the entire phrase, they say. among prison populations in places such as California, where peckerwood gangs are common. One might also see 100% peckerwood, 100% featherwood, and 100% wood. You got to. I don't know if you can buy this. The ADL, in my opinion, is a joke organization, and this certainly proves it when they're starting to say that 100% means white supremacy. Now, when you're flying an airplane, if you push the power up, it says on the gauges 100%. That's what it says. Power on the gauges 100%. You go to school, you get a test, you max out the test. What does the teacher give you? 100%. Gee, white supremacist? I don't think so. Let's say you buy a pound of something, flour, sugar, whatever it is, 100% whatever it is, okay? And for an ADL to come out and say, well, it's white supremacist racist. It's white supremacy. Really? I mean, I can 100%. It's 100%. That means the top of the top, the heap of the heap. And for the ADL to come out and say that makes the ADL look really, really stupid. So now you have seen 100% as a shorthand among white supremacists for 100% white. There it is right there. You see it? It's exactly right there. That's exactly what they're saying right there. 100% white. Folks, you want to see stupid? This, my friends, is stupid. And whoever the ADL is, and I don't know who they are, they're stupid. Just take it for what it's worth. My opinion, but if 100% means anything else but 100%, I haven't figured that one out yet. That's all I got. See ya. Coming up next. Well, I kind of hate bringing this up because it is politics, but I want to talk to you about another party. Now, I'm not Republican Party, not the Democrat Party, not the Tea Party, but the No Labels Party. Now, this is a party that apparently was started by a guy named Joe Lieberman. You might remember him. He was Al Gore's vice presidential candidate back in 2000. Joe recently passed away at the age of, I believe it was 82. But he was one of the people that started out the No Labels Party. And they've been trying to find somebody to run in the 2024 election against the likes of Biden and Donald Trump. Well, they tried Chris Christie, former governor of New Jersey, to see if he would run on the No Labels Party. And he took a look at it and went, nah, ain't doing it. Maybe he figured out that what he does, he ain't going to win nothing. But the No Labels Party is still out there trying to find someone to run to offset, to give voters, you and me, an opportunity to vote for someone else different than left or right or, whatever we choose to do. No Labels Party. Well, now they're wondering, is it possible they could get RFK, who's now selected the vice presidential candidate as well, to run on the No Labels Party? Now, RFK was a Democrat, but he said, nah, because the Democrats want to destroy him. You have to understand, in the upcoming political campaign, you are going to see political ads against Trump from the Biden people, against RFK from the Biden people. And you're going to see anti-Biden ads from the Trump gang. Okay, so you're going to see all these different ads. But the Democrats are really worried now about RFK because they think he could be another Ross Perot like happened in 1992. And he's concerned about that. So they're going to try to lambaste him and beat him up in any way, shape, or form they can. Now, but what if RFK decides to saddle his horse onto the No Labels Party? That could be very interesting. Because there's people out there, I'll tell you flat out, there's people out there who will vote for RFK. There's a certain percentage, I think it's about 10% of Biden voters who will vote for RFK. There's about 8% of Trump voters who will vote for RFK. Well, you take those together, and those could form a pretty significant amount. You know, if you got 10%, 8%, that's 18%. Back in 1992, Ross Perot took, what, 20, 22%? Changed the election. Bill Clinton got elected over George H.W. Bush. That happened in 1992. Third-party candidate can always do that. And does RFK have the moxie and the name and the RFK Kennedy moniker hung on his name? Don't know. But it's going to be a very interesting political campaign, and wait and see what RFK does and see if he decides to join the no-label party or run strictly as an independent. Those are the things you're going to see. Prepare yourself, tighten your seatbelts, because, folks, it's going to be a very bumpy night. See ya. Coming up next. Well, I thought I would talk to you an animal story today, and this takes us to Toledo, Ohio, where the Ravenswood Apartments are, and apparently in the Ravenswood Apartments, they have a bit of a problem. And this is a problem that exists in a lot of apartment complexes and some neighborhoods. And it has to do with animals. Well, when you take an animal out for a walk, we know why you're taking the animal out for a walk. You're taking it out so it can do its business. Now, average people, they take Fido out or Fuzzy out or whatever the dog's name is, carry along a little baggie. Dog takes his business. Person takes the baggie, picks it up, puts it in the garbage can wherever, and that's the way we do things. You know, if they're taking a number one, that's fine. It goes into the grass. But number two, you pick it up, you clean it up. That's the rules, right? That's the rules for apartment complexes and many housing developments. Well, problem is not everybody follows the rules. Let's be honest. So, this apartment complex over in Toledo, the Ravenswood, so they got a different idea. They hired a company called Poop Prints. Now, I've never heard of the company, but apparently they've been around since, 2008. Long time. And they do DNA sampling and DNA testing. So what's going to happen is the managers of the Ravenswood Apartments, if they find a little gift from a dog laying on the ground or wherever it happens to be, they swab it with a little cotton thing, and they put it in a container tube, and they mail it off to this Poop Prints, and they do a DNA analysis on it to find out where it came from. Well, here's the problem I see. They've got to have a database of the dogs in that database to be able to match it out with whatever they find out in the ground. So, the people that are already living in this apartment complex, I don't know if you could go to them and say, hey, we want to do a swab in your dog's mouth to get a DNA sample of your dog. I'm not sure the patrons of that apartment complex can be forced to do that. Now, I suppose you could say either you do it or we cancel your lease and you're out. I don't know about the legalities of that, but for new people moving in, the management could say, okay, as part of the move-in for your dog, we've got to do a DNA swab of your dog's mouth in case that you leave a little gift there in our property that isn't properly picked up. That may be a possibility. But think about it for your own neighborhood. Think about where you live. Would you like to see a company like Poop Prints coming in, doing DNA samples to check out exactly whose dog dropped a log? Just saying. Might be something the homeowners association might be able to go and say, yeah, let's exercise some power here. Let's tell all the residents they got to submit their dogs to a DNA sampling. That's going to be an interesting lawsuit if that ever gets to court. Just saying. Little something I thought about. Coming up next. Well, what do you say we talk about the Chicago Bears? Now, if you're a Bears fan, this story may interest you. And if you're not a Bear fan, hey, bear through it. You'll survive. Here's the deal. For years and years, we all know the Chicago Bears have been playing in Soldier Field right there next to Lake Michigan. And frankly, they've tried to rebuild it, remodify it, make it nice, but it really hasn't been all that great. It's a outdoor stadium, Chicago. You know how the weather is in Chicago. And so the Bears finally said, hey, we want something done with the city of Chicago under all the different mayors we've had. Said, no, you got Soldier Field. That's good enough. And Bears finally said, I don't think so. So the owners of the Bears went out to Arlington Park Racetrack, which is northwestern Chicago, out there in the suburbs, and purchased Arlington Park for roughly $192 million. That's a big racetrack. And they tore the whole thing down. And the word was Chicago Bears were going to move to the suburbs, build themselves a new stadium out there in where Arlington Park was, because it's a huge area, got a lot of parking and everything else. And that was the word. The Bears were going to locate to Arlington Park. Well, seems the school districts in Arlington Park went, oh, new money coming into our area. Well, let's see how much tax money we can eke out of the Bears. And there's two different school districts, and they wanted a boatload of revenue, tax revenue from the Bears, and the Bears owners said, nah, it ain't going to happen. Well, anyway, the two were negotiating, and apparently they were about $100 million apart. So then the Bears put out a new press release, and the new press release said, hey, we're going to spend $2 billion, that's with a B, $2 billion to build a brand new stadium right south of the old Soldier Field in Chicago, right there on the lakefront, and it's going to be a dome stadium. That's right, a Superdome stadium, $2 billion, and they're going to basically knock down the old Chicago the Soldier Field and leave the colonnades, because that was kind of dedicated to the veterans, and turn that whole area into a recreational area. I don't know, softball fields, football fields, who knows what they're going to do with it. And then the Bears are going to have parking down there, build a $2 billion facility in downtown Chicago. Well, turns out that maybe the whole thing is a bluff. Because you see, the Bears, I don't think they got $2 billion. And I'm thinking the Bears say they have $2 billion. I don't think they got that money. They're going to ask Chicago to pony up most of it. Because that's what they do in cities. You tell the taxpayers, hey, you want a stadium? You're going to have to pay for it, which is essentially what the Bears are saying. They haven't said that outright yet, but you can almost guess that's coming. They're going to say to the mayor, hey, Mr. Mayor, you want a stadium downtown? We can move it to Arlington Park. You get nothing. You build us a stadium, and we'll pay taxes. So, are they playing the game? It appears to me, yes, they are. Now, who's going to win? I don't know. But right now, the ball's in the air. The bet is on. Who's going to break, who's going to blink, and who's going to give the Bears what the Bears want? Is it going to be Arlington Park school districts out there? Because they're $100 million apart on taxes. Or will it be the city of Chicago building a brand new stadium for the Bears south of Soldier Field? I don't know which way it's going to end up. But all I know is they're playing the game, folks. And let's see who blinks first. That'll tell you where the stadium's going to be built. That's all I got. See ya. Coming up next. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have some very, very big news for you. This was just released nationally, but by the end of 2026, which I realize is a couple of years away, our friends at McDonald's, the well-known McDonald's, everybody knows McDonald's, is going to start offering something additionally when you stop in to get your morning cappuccino or coffee or donut. Did I say donut? Yes, I did. I said donut because by the end of 2026, McDonald's is going to be selling Krispy Kreme donuts. That's right, Krispy Kreme donuts, individual or six-pack, of their regular donuts, their glazed donuts, their chocolate covered with sprinkles donuts. They're going to start selling those by the end of 2026 in the morning, delivered fresh every day to McDonald's every morning, and McDonald's will sell them throughout the day until they run out. Now, I don't know the cost. I don't know any of the particulars here, but I now know that officially, starting by the end of 2026, and I don't know who's going to get them first, so I don't know the test markets yet. I don't know any of that, but McDonald's is going to start selling Krispy Kreme donuts. Isn't that amazing? Now, got to be honest with you, they aren't the only fast food place that is selling breakfast items. Now, you know, McDonald's, they've got their pancakes and their breakfast, the sausage McMuffins with egg, and okay, those are fine. And their burritos, those are fine. But imagine getting yourself a Krispy Kreme donut to go along with your breakfast or your coffee you're getting or your cappuccino or whatever the heck you order. It's coming to McDonald's. But do want to point out, in all deference, Wendy's is also going to be selling Cinnabons. Now, if you're a Cinnabon fan, stop by Wendy's, get your coffee and a little Cinnabon. It's going to be available for you. So there's the big news, ladies and gentlemen. Big news is that by 2026, your friendly neighborhood McDonald's is going to be selling Krispy Kreme donuts. That's right. It also, the iced cream-filled donuts, chocolate ones, going to be selling those too. You got 3 different choices. Me, standard Krispy Kreme. Do I like those? Well, that does it for today's edition of the Pat White Show. Thanks for tuning in, and make sure to follow us on social media for the latest Pat White Show for all the news and updates. And stay tuned for brand new episodes of the Pat White Show coming real soon. Like what you're hearing? Make sure you don't miss an episode by following the Pat White Show on Spotify. Just search for the Pat White Show, hit follow, and get ready for insightful conversations delivered straight to your Spotify feed. If you enjoy watching podcasts as much as listening to them, good news! The Pat White Show is also on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel now for visual content, behind-the-scenes footage, and full podcast experience. Find us on YouTube at the Pat White Show channel.
Happy